Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Paul Brown Show. This evening, my guest will be Mr. John Autry. He's City Council, District 5. How you doing, sir?
Great, Paul. Thank you.
Tell the audience a little bit about Mr. John Autry.
Well, I'm a native North Carolinian. I grew up in Fayetteville, down east. Spent some time in Charlotte in the early 60s when I was in like the second and third grade. Spent a couple of years in Concord, then back to Fayetteville. Finished my high school career there, and then had the opportunity to go out west to attend college. After working out there and a tour of duty in the United States Navy, I was involved in a bicycle company in sales and on the road up in the Seattle, Washington market, and determined that it was time to come back home. So I moved back to Charlotte in 1981 and have been here ever since.
You were elected last year.
Yes, sir.
On the city council. What made you want to run for that position?
Well, I'd been a community activist for many years, speaking before council, working behind the scenes with different council representatives on different issues on the east side. And I guess if you boil it all down to, I just wanted to have a positive impact on my community.
What would you consider to be some of the biggest issues that you're facing as the city council member for District 5?
Well, we have a very diverse community. We've seen a change in the demographics over the last 20 years. The economic stability is not what it once was. And, you know, the east side, when I first came to Charlotte, if you were young and single, you wanted to be on the east side because that's where the apartments were. That's where the commercial resources were that, you know, to leverage in your favor at that time. Eastland Mall was a thriving concern at that time. And it's been very difficult to bear witness to how that impact of what economies can do and cannot do sometimes has affected my community.
Eastland Mall was at one time a vital facility in your area.
Yes.
Okay, now that it's gone, what are we doing to, you know, to bring back some type of interest within District 5 in that building?
That's a great question. I don't know if we're ever going to see anything happening in that building again. There are challenges with that building. You know, it was built back in the 70s, and you know, seeing a commercial option going in there and what we think of as a mall is probably long gone. And I've been advising my constituent to remove the M word for their vocabulary. So it's the Eastland property is what we're referring to it. But on August 31st, the city closed on that property. The city now owns it. We used bond money that was approved back in 2008 to purchase the property. FMW, a realty broker firm, came to us and said they had assembled the properties, that they had contracts for sale that were assignable, and did the city want those properties? Council, and I'm pleased to say, unanimously approved that plan. There has been expressed interest from the film industry across multiple factions that have expressed interest in that property for that purpose. I think that's a great opportunity for bringing some industrial stability there. You know, we've had a going concern in the film industry in Charlotte for a long time. In fact, that's originally what brought me to Charlotte.
Yes, sir.
And so I've worked in the industry for a long time. And the city has basically made no investment in that industry at all. So with the confluence of the properties being available, the city seeing a willingness to invest in that industry, and the industry expressing interest in that property for that purpose, it seemed like the opportune time to make a move on that. So what we'll be doing now is we'll be doing due diligence for the rest of the year. The planning department, economic development, neighborhood and business services folks will be studying other facilities around the world, that what kind of impact they've had, what kind of influence they've had on revitalization in those areas where those facilities exist, and how we might take that knowledge and leverage it to our advantage to hopefully get the best master plan in place for how we want to see that property redeveloped. Then by the end of the year, we'll have an RFP, RFQ prepared that will go out to those companies that have expressed interest and get their responses by next spring, and hopefully by next summer have a public-private partnership identified to take over that property.
That's great. If you were to bring in a filming industry, what would that mean to not only District 5, but to the city of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County?
Another good question. I think that's important to think about it, and as how it impacts the city as a whole, because we have the TV series Homeland shooting here. We have the series Banshee shooting here. We have this the feature film Hunger Games that was shot here in the region last year. That was $60+ million worth of impact, and just Hunger Games alone production. That's real money that goes into people's pockets that they use to pay their mortgage or their rent, or pay for their child's orthodontist, buy them school clothes, make the car payment, buy their groceries with. It's a real impact that those kinds of operations have, and it's a green industry. It doesn't leave behind a lot of destruction or mayhem that they don't already have a plan on how they're going to correct it. And the offshot is entertainment. Yes. So but it's how it affects the whole city. It's going to be an opportunity to encourage more people to come to the city to help us in our growth aspirations. And in District 5 specifically, hopefully some of those folks will want to live there. They will want to have their children enrolled in our schools on the east side and be contributors in our community. As one constituent put it, the Pierce Nose, purple-haired, creative types, bring them on. We're ready for them.
That's great. That's exciting. Well, look forward for hearing more about that in the near future. You got a Walmart was built on Independence. What type of economical impact has that Walmart done for that district?
Well, the Walmart there, it's had a positive impact for providing opportunities for employment for several of the people that live in the area. It is certainly helped the tax base, which the city certainly appreciates and needs that revenue to do other things in the district to help encourage more redevelopment. It's also created some challenges here and there. Transportation in and out of there. Folks that usually were riding the bus over to the Walmart on Eastway. Cats had to make some adjustments to its route to get the buses in and out of that area. And getting in there is okay down Independence, but getting out, they have to go through a neighborhood. And that's had an unintended consequence and an adverse effect on that community. So we're continue to work with cats and try to figure out a way to accommodate the needs of our citizens for that retail that Walmart provides, while still protecting the community that is an old, well-established community that needs to be protected.
Independence Boulevard. I know at one time it was filled with a lot of businesses, but they're doing a lot of construction, I guess, to the roads and all that. And how is that affecting businesses on that street?
Well, I would be less than truthful to say that it's had a negative impact. It's been very challenging to a lot of businesses. It's going to be fine for the auto-oriented business, like the dealerships that exist there now. They right turn in, right turn out. They've got plenty of access there. If you're outbound and you want to get the one on the left side, you may have to go down to the next interchange before you can get back on that side of the road. But they're going to do fine. My concern are restaurants, retail, other types of retail that existed along there. And it doesn't take much to, take a little drive out there and you'll see a lot of big boxes, a lot of malls that are half vacant, and that's a great concern to me. And I think that, I recently met with the new division engineer yesterday who has taken over for Barry Moose, Mr. Lewis Mitchell, and plan on sitting down and talking with him and looking at the plans for the conversion of Independence into a freeway, and where we might be able to take advantage of some of those properties that are going to be existing there and are probably going to be vacant, and how we might redevelop those. I'm afraid, though, that some of them are just not going to come back. So I'd like to explore the opportunities of how we might create an alternative means of getting in and out of the city without having to use a car, with a little network of bike paths and walking trails that could help connect our communities in a manner that doesn't require an automobile to do, and would also make for a more pleasing atmosphere along both sides of Independence, instead of just a bunch of empty boxes and paved areas that aren't being used.
I know District 5 has a great history. You have a nice community as well. What makes District 5 such a great community, in your own opinion?
Diversity. All the different types of people from all over the world, practically. If you go down Central Avenue, down Albemarle Road, you'll find restaurants not only from Mexico and Central America, but Brazil, Vietnam, Thailand, Europe. We have citizens that come from Africa, from Bosnia, from Asia, from India, and it all seems to work over there. It's a very vibrant place. It's a very lively place. I'm working on the image factor and the perception factor. A few misplaced words here or there in the media can paint the whole area with the wrong kind of brush. And I'm afraid that has been, it's been too easy to whip up on the east side in that manner. So it's part of my job and part of my ambition to help correct that perception and present it as the kind of place that I enjoy living in. A lot of my neighbors like living there, and come over and visit sometime. You may find you want to live there yourself.
Yes, sir. What are some of the major accomplishments you've had since becoming city council member?
Well, the first thing that I take a lot of pride in is having council accept and refer to the Environment Committee, of which I'm the chairman of, a sustainability plan for the city of Charlotte. Not just the city's operations and facilities, but whether we should be bringing along with us the community as a whole for our sustainability plan. Now, the county government is already down the road with that. They have a sustainability director in Heidi Pruce. They are putting together their plan for not only county operations and facilities, but also for engagement of the community as a whole. So what we're currently doing now is we're working with a consulting firm to evaluate what the city is doing, what we plan to do, what the county is doing, what the county plans to do, getting a barometer baseline on where the community is, identifying any gaps, any redundancies,